Yeah,
Dude.
that was awesome.
That was
What
metal.
is up, everybody? So we got a little bit of a different look here today. We got the DorkLair Special Edition. Of course, front and center, we have Matthew Rodriguez of the Defenders of Eden, Armies of Ashmore. We're going to talk all about Matthew's Kickstarter today. This whole episode is dedicated to the Armies of Ashmore. And then on to the right of me, I guess, would be Will White, Billy Beige, from Billy Beige Customs. Check out his YouTube channel. And in the bottom right, we have Nate Strong, aka Corona4, on the Instagrams. What is up, everybody?
Hey guys.
Yes. Dude, that song rips, man.
You know, really quick shout out, Jeremy DeWitt
I figured that.
is an absolute monster.
He killed it.
He helped our buddy Pete McCarthy with a commercial, kind of a pop fun commercial for their toy convention in Mesquite. Then he switched it up and did a similar thing for my show in Tulip City, and then he does that, and it's like the songs could be not further and different than from each other, but he just knows how to write a lick and knows how to write a hit. I think, yeah, my wife's YouTube Toy Huntress music, he did that too. So like when you line up all of that stuff, you're like, the dude's got talent. So
we need a full length album.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
You could
it's
probably
killer.
assemble one.
Junk
from all
Man
these theme
grind.
songs.
Yeah, exactly. Junkman. So shout out Jeremy DeWitt. Look him up if you need any commission work done. Go find him. Get it done.
Dude,
He does amazing work.
I might need a good DorkLair metal song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
All right, let's take a
Sometimes
look.
I don't realize that I'm people are like, "Are you a fan of metal?" And sometimes you can be like, yeah, a little bit, but then you hear something like that, you're like, how can you not? Like
Yeah, it just works perfect.
yeah, especially for what we're doing. So
Right on.
yeah.
What are
All
we
right,
doing?
Let's take a look at the chat, and then we'll get into the Armies of Ashmore. So Braku Prime is here. Anthony Frederick, Eric Munoz, what is up? Michael Casper, what's up, dude? Brick something. Stephanie, Orc S, J Mac, Scott Baker. Let's see, who else am I missing? Justin Mohan. It's nice to get into these streams before the property gets big. Let's see here. Who else
I
we
knew
got?
you when,
J-Mac,
right?
Nice. All right. Cool. One quick DorkLair update. So the support has been amazing with super chats. A couple things on that tonight. One is I've finally turned on memberships. So if anybody's interested, it's $1 a month and you get like little emojis and things. I've noticed that on other channels and it looks kind of fun, and I can maybe add things later, but I've thrown a few things in there for now, emojis and like special icons and things. And then I'll probably do like a monthly live stream, like exclusive to the members. So I've started that. It's only $1 a month if anybody's interested. But if you're spending money tonight, I want to discourage you from doing any sort of super chats. And I'll try to repeat this throughout. But I want to try to discourage you from doing super chats and instead pledge it to the Kickstarter. Okay. So if there's any super chats, instead go to the Kickstarter. If somebody does end up doing a super chat, I am adding those to my pledge the same way I did with Biblical Adventures. It's just more economical to just go straight to the Kickstarter so that YouTube, doesn't take a cut of each one. But yeah, so if you are thinking about it,
I appreciate
please,
it. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, do the pledge. Hold on a second. Okay.
And while we hold it on a second, I'll say this. At Legion's Con, we met a bunch of people, and that's where we revealed the toys. And now, since I'm putting all of these names on the internet with actual faces, you guessed some of the reveals, right? You're that guy that went up on stage and knew what some of the reveals were.
Yes.
Okay.
At Legion's, at G-Con,
Okay, that's what it
I
was.
did
Yeah.
go up during one of the reveals, and yeah, we talked a little bit about my video that I had made right before Legion's Con, where I was just trying to guess what they were.
Yeah.
The big one I got way wrong. I said that there's definitely not going to be a full skeleton horse, and then they
Skeleton
pull
horse.
one
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Hey,
No,
look,
so
we got a member
now I'm
already.
just connecting all of the dots.
Yeah, recognizing the
That
face.
was a good
Yep.
one to be wrong with.
Yeah, right.
Scott Baker, you are the first member, dude.
Wow.
Congratulations. First member.
First member. First and firm.
Braku, you know, I'm not sure actually how you join. I think
Ask
there's
Scott.
a join button somewhere. Actually, I'm like useless in this because I've never done this. Yeah, ask Scott.
Yeah. He says that, and it's funny because Justin's in here, and actually, I believe Justin helped me answer a question on the Kickstarter where like all these questions came through, and like the people that have backed other lines or backed other Kickstarters, they were more than willing to help jump in and like help out with certain answers that like even as green as I am, like I've done a couple Kickstarters, but nothing to this magnitude. So they just jump in and they're like, hey, yeah, you can do this or do that. So it's cool when
Nice.
people want to jump in and answer those questions. So yes, Scott, go help them out.
And yes,
look
Dino
at-
Dollars tonight only. Go ahead, Will.
There's a join button right by your YouTube icon. If you have where you're watching it on your computer, should be right there. It says join.
Okay, yeah, right under the video.
Nice.
There you go.
If I just did it.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yo, whoa.
Thank you, Billy. Okay.
My membership shall be forthcoming.
All right, so where should we start? You want to talk a little bit about the history of the Defenders of Eden and just kind of go back to the early days a little bit, and then just give an overview?
100%. You know, some of this stuff I don't get sick of sharing. I know my wife gets sick of hearing it, and since it's been such a long time, some of the stuff might sound or seem repetitive. But at the end of the day, we have Matty Collector technically and Mattel to thank for Defenders of Eden, because we're in He-Man.org way back in the day in the forums with our fan fiction characters, and we're all hanging out, and all these guys are there, and we're just kind of pretending and having fun and talking about the new line coming out soon, which at that time I believe it was Classics. They held a contest, and about a year before, I had my stories that were called Defenders of Eternia, and I had made up a handful of characters. You know, hey, Man-at-Arms needs a buddy. There's a mechanic at the other end of town. Like, Man-at-Arms isn't the only guy. So I created Tech Trek. He was my fan fiction character. So he was like my avatar on the little icon. And so a lot of other people had similar things. So I was building my own world. What, you know, there's a statue of He-Man, King Adam, and it's 100 years later. What does it look like? And so I was kind of basing it all on that stuff, and they had that contest, and everybody was getting ready to send in characters, and then in the fine print, everyone started noticing, like, we own the rights, we will keep the character, it is 100% ours, name, likeness, power, idea, creative, whatever, and there was only going to be one winner. And as a creative person myself, I was just like, I'm just not down with that. Like, there's just something that felt odd about it. And so I decided to, at that point, I said, hey, what if we drop the Eternia and we just make our own world? And when I say we, I approached a couple guys on the org, and I started basically paying them to do artwork for me. And CJ Edwards and Andrew Kramer. CJ Edwards is in Washington, the state of Washington, and then Andrew Kramer is in South Africa. And we started building this world, and it became kind of really cool. And so that's kind of where it was birthed. And so, you know, again, doing artwork and kind of okay, let's make a comic book. What does it take to make a comic book? How much does this cost? And so again, being very green at it, I just knew that it's something I wanted to do, and we just started plugging right along. In the early days, I will say, shoot, there was even Emiliano Sanlucha. If Curtis Ackerman sees this, he's going to call that a name drop. But Emiliano had a character named Honeycomb that he actually gave me permission to use and kind of let me have. I never did. Nate Barch, his fan fiction character was Bana. So he's the original creator of Bana. So that's something that became under the Ideas from Mars Bible. And then we have two other ones, Seashell and Eel. You guys have probably seen the statues of Eel. But there were essentially three characters that kind of were pulled from the org and into Eden that were fan fiction characters. And we just said, hey, can we have these characters? And they said, yes, you have our blessing. We've done what we will with them. We don't know anything more than that. And so we took them into our Bible and turned them into characters. And then along with that, CJ himself, he's created a handful of characters for the world. And Andrew, being the colorist, he's kind of chimed in and tweaked stuff too and added his characters. So it's been kind of this evolution over the past 10 years of just kind of creating this new planet essentially. So, but yeah, we have Maddie Collector and their rules to thank, because I just was not comfortable as a creative person to like throw a Tech Trek or throw a Skylore or one of these characters that I created there. And then again, who knows how they would be used. I mean, they could have, I'm forgetting if it's Matchbox cars or Hot Wheels that Mattel owns, but like you could have a whole wave of new cars and they could all have the names of like old Maddie Collector characters from the contest that didn't win. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just, it's just kind of a weird thing.
Or they never do anything with them. And then it's like, but we own them, but you can't have them, but we're not going to use them. It's like one of those things.
They just become wasted. Yeah.
Totally.
Correct. 100%. Yep. So that's kind of where the origins came from. So
wild. Matt, have you ever met CJ and Andrew in person?
Yeah, we actually went. So we did when we had the action phase. So there's a guy named Tom Tolman who actually did a lot of these. They're called stactions in the early 2000 X He-Man days, and he did a lot of these contests, and people would enter their characters, and whoever voted and whoever won, he would actually make a little statue of, and it was very 2000 X He-Man, a little bit oversized arms, that type of style. And I paid him to do, the dinosaurs, and he sculpted them in 3 3/4 and like made these molds, and he like made copies for people, and they turned out amazing to sculpt at that size and have the detail that he had. It was phenomenal. So when we first revealed this kind of project in these comic books, CJ flew down to California and I met him over there for PowerCon. So we did I don't know if it was 5, 6, 7 years ago, but we did a PowerCon and we did meet there for the first time ever. And it was kind of cool because again, you get to know these people online. And even now you get to know them more because of Facebook and this type of stuff. But back then it was like literally, again, it was just a forum where we will just chat back and forth, and we didn't know, voices or anything like that. Wow. So yeah.
That's crazy.
And someday Andrew, we're planning, we hope to have him come out to Legions Con or PowerCon or something at some point, because he's always been awesome and been part of the team since the conception. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, can you introduce us to the world of Eden as it stands now and start kind of connecting that to the dinos in this Kickstarter, and just give us a quick like overview of this universe you've created?
Quick overview. Again, it's very birthed from a Masters of the Universe place, so a lot of people like those bright colors, and just kind of the almost a whimsical creativity about it that definitely Motu leans into as well. So we have the world of Eden, and we have this kingdom of Newthonia, and in the kingdom there's this boy king, and his name's Garrett, and he's literally a 13, 14-year-old boy, and he's the king of this kingdom at this time, where we jump into issue 1. And we kind of travel around the world, and we see different pockets and different factions and different cultures. And then to the south is Ashmore. So that's where they're called the Saurian race. So that's where they mostly reside. Some do not live there. I mean, it's not like everything's super secluded. And Newthonia is definitely diverse. But that's where a lot of the dinosaurs live. And then we kind of jump right in. Our main villain, her name's Lady Merryweather. She takes over a city to the west, and she just basically wants destruction as far as we know now. I mean, we get into issue 4, but there's some reasons behind it. But she's coming. She took over the city, and now she wants to take over a bigger city. So the cool thing about the world is when you look at the map that's inside of the front cover, there's 7 different storylines / kind of situations going on that we haven't even really talked about. So from a creative standpoint, it's cool, but from a writing standpoint, it's a little bit tougher to deal with. So at the most southern point of the world is this great tree tower, and it's super cool. Again, hats off. Like, if you guys know any creatives, it's wonderful having them around. And it's wonderful feeding off of each other, because the tree tower that I originally drew is hogwash compared to what CJ turned it into and his vision of it. And so that's where Baina resides with the goddess Natura. If you look on the last page of that first issue, we see the goddess Natura. She's beautiful. And then at the northernmost point is the Tower of Time. So it's kind of a time and space type of thing. And that's this big clock tower that keeps time running. And it's got this waterfall that kind of flows and keeps things spinning. So when we finally do, oh, there she is. Yeah. And again, creatively, it's beautiful stuff. And so, ooh.
Anthony's saying no spoilers, but I don't think you just kind of like talking about the world.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, I don't think I got too in depth, but yeah. No. So we know the 2 towers, we know the defenders come together, and then Lady Merryweather. But for the most part, yeah, it's again, just like Anthony just said, it's hard for me to like not say, guess what happens here and there and here and there, because creatively it's fun, but as a writer, people are like Anthony are, keep it down. So
yeah, and it's a great read.
It's really good.
We tried to keep it light. For one thing, I absolutely love, like, I enjoy Saga. I enjoy East of West. I enjoy stuff like Invincible. Like, there's definitely different types of writing. I am no writer. I am no, great thinker or writer of great words. So when you read my stuff, it's pretty plain, but I don't think that it needs much more than it has. Like, this is definitely, out of all of my books, this is the one that's kind of the most family friendly and fun. But it's not anything that I'm not going to win any writing awards, I guess I'd say, from that standpoint. So
it has there is a certain weight to it, because it has the feel of, and your explanation of the long backstory of the development of all this, like it feels like it's a world that has been in development for a long time, which is the truth.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think there's so much creativity. I mean, don't knock yourself for the writing. I think it's great, but there's so much creativity in that world building, in the character building, in all the backstories. You mentioned whimsical up at the top. There are some moments like that I've already seen in just 3 issues that are fun. But there's a lot going on.
Yeah. No, I appreciate. Yeah, we try to make it fun and interesting, I guess. So yeah. What up, Billy?
I'm excited to actually get in on them with the Kickstarter, since they have where they're all available to like order physically and digitally on there. Just a plug.
No, yeah, and that was something that we wanted to do, because we know that as much as I'm not very much into digital reading, as far as comics and on iPads and phones. There are a lot of people that are, as far as when we collect toys, you guys know this, there's space issues. And so when it comes down to the ability to have something we're not shipping out, that we can give at a discounted price, and you don't need the physical, and which is fine. Some people need that physical. We have both options. So yeah, for sure.
Will the comic book be deliverable right at the end of the Kickstarter, or will that have to wait till things ship out or whatever?
So that's something that we've actually talked about, is that if you're doing the mini comics, we can digitally, we can open up that downloadable file to anyone after the Kickstarter. So that would be fine. The only issue with the main comic storyline is issue 4, which is kind of the finish of this arc, which would also be involved in that trade paperback, or the digital trade. Wouldn't be able to be delivered till later this year. But if somebody just wants an issue 1, 2, or 3 of the main line, by all means, I'm not against kind of going as it comes and taking it as it comes, because we're treading new water, as far as that goes, and you need to be flexible at these in these things. So,
and the books are already out,
right?
They're obtainable.
Yep.
That's awesome.
One thing I wanted to note is I love the range in the world. You have the dinos, the armies of Ashmore, who have a little more primal fantasy kind of vibe, and magic and stuff. And then you have like full on technology and like sky ships and I think like there's a wide range, just like Masters, right? Like there's a wide range of stuff that you can explore in this world.
Even with that, and it made complete sense. So when I wrote basically the boy Garrett was like, I think I sent CJ some pictures, and there was a vehicle. So my kids were little, and I think there was a vehicle of like a giant tortoise, and it was from the show Wildcrats. And so we were kicking around ideas, and then one day CJ sent me some sketch work of like this giant whale, and sorry, Anthony, if that's giving anything away, but visually it's like, okay, that just fits. And then so we put that in the book. Like, obviously, this little boy designed the ship that his whole kingdom's helping build, and it happens to be shaped like a whale. So
that's really cool. So speaking of all the different worlds and all the different characters, maybe this is a segue before we wanted to get there, but you have so many characters. Like you mentioned, Lady Merryweather, you've got all the Defenders, you've got the Armies of Ashmore. What made you choose specifically to kick your toy line off? Out of all the characters you've already introduced in just 3 comics, why did you focus on them in particular?
Very, honestly, very, very strategic. We know that there will be people that love Tech Trek and love Gray and Merryweather and Silver Glove and all of kind of the main cast. But we do also know that to cast the widest net possible in the world of toys, this was the way to go. Ashmore was where we have to start, because of the size that we're doing them. And like I said originally, and I feel like I repeat myself 100 times, but originally they were 5.5, because back in the day, it was, what was it? Animal Warriors of the Kingdom was kickstarting 3.75. You had your Joes, you had Marvel Universe was all going that size, and so we thought we were going to be big at that 5.5, but then also go with Vintage Masters, but everything kind of moved up to that 6, and then so we obviously moved up with it, but it was very strategic. And again, this is all before. Personally, like on the side, I didn't know about the Angel line that just dropped. I didn't know about Savage Crucible. Obviously, we did know about Mythic Legions, but there were a handful of lines that I feel personally this toy line can kind of fit with a lot of stuff that's already out there and going to be out there, because of the size too. So yeah, again, very strategic. Originally, we were going to do our snake characters as the second wave, which are kind of the villains to Ashmore. But with all of the hype behind this and everyone wanting this size, where we're getting these requests for, second and third head packs, and what do you have on the horizon with just this buck alone, I definitely think we have to kind of go to our back end and kind of push back what our plans were and key in on this for a little bit longer, while it's hot, essentially. So
yeah, smart. And not to mention, I'm sure size, like you said, played a huge part of it, and everybody knows dinosaurs, right? That had to be another obvious factor, right? I mean,
and you won't offend,
or not.
Yeah, you will not offend me if you do not ever pick up the comic book. Somebody might not want to read about Defenders of Eden, but to walk past my table at a booth or a table at a show and see these figures, people stop and people want to see, which is kind of very intentional.
All right, so kind of getting into this here.
Yeah.
Oh wait, before we did that, we had a couple more new members. So let me go over to the starred ones. So just wanted to shout out Brick Something. Thank you for becoming a member. And Braku, for those of you who are just hopping on, I did open up memberships. It's sort of a goofy little thing where it's like $1 a month and you get little emojis and different kind of things. And I've noticed it on other channels. And so I decided to do memberships. I'll probably add and develop it and do like some exclusive lives and stuff at some point, but just shouting that out just so people who are, seeing this for the first time are aware of it. And there was one more I wanted to mention. At some point you'll get to this, I'm sure, but the idea of how did Four Horsemen get involved. But let's take a look at the Kickstarter for a second here. So first of all, $109,200. There has to be some specific meaning there with that very specific number, or no? Is that just
kind of? It was actually just below 100 when it was actually at, I want to think it was at like 94, but there was actually an increase in production cost. Where we're at. So luckily I was made aware of that before we went live. We were made aware of that a couple weeks ago, so we actually had to change that number. Right. But yeah, not anything specific, but I knew that was where it needed to be minimal.
Okay.
To make everything work.
I was thinking there was some meaning behind it, like
like somebody's phone number or somebody's birthday or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I heard it was because you had to cover for the Four Horsemen sending out the extra troll head pack. They just kind of rolled it into that.
We'll do it if you. All right, so you're over halfway. 109. Let's call it 110, right? And so you're over halfway, 61,000.
Yep, and we are officially, as of a minute ago, we are 26 hours into it.
That's awesome, man! Congrats! What a great opening.
Thank you very much.
That is an epic start to this Kickstarter.
Tell us about, while we're looking through this, like what was leading up to 7 o'clock yesterday like for you?
Dude, so for the past week, I didn't know that like you got to pick your own time to launch. And so I was like, where does it tell? Because people are asking me like, what time? And I'm like, it doesn't tell me what time. It just tells me what day it's going to end on. And then somebody finally told me, well, when you click it, you start. And I'm like, oh, well, that's helpful. Like I'm like literally scurrying Monday up until like 6 and 7 o'clock, like doing the final touches. And yeah, somebody had mentioned that to me. And so then I thought this was a completely for reasons like regular folk. I'll be scrolling online certain days, and it doesn't matter what fan base is involved, but somebody missed something that they wanted to get or be involved in, or a drop or something like that. And so instead of launching it in the middle of the day and having everybody kind of scurry around, I really honestly wanted to just be the adult to be like, hey, we're all working till probably 4 or 5. Let's get home and have dinner and let's relax, and then let's pledge. And so that was my intention of doing it at 7 in the evening instead of a morning type of thing. And yeah, so that was it. That was that intent.
And how many times have you hit refresh in these past 26 hours?
My kids do that for me.
You got them working on it. That's nice.
Yeah, I actually tried to avoid it for a while, but I will be honest, last night, like laying in bed, like if I couldn't fall asleep, I would pop it open and kind of see.
I don't know how you even fell asleep at all. I would have been like, that would have been
well,
hard.
Even the night before, like that Monday night, I'm like, again, this sleep, and it's super corny, but like I haven't had these kind of butterflies. It's an out of body experience. I haven't had these butterflies since my wedding day, like in the garage of like where we had our wedding, and I was just like, really good emotions with also really scared emotions, and like it was just surreal. So I finally got to sleep thanks to some melatonin. So
well, I hope this does really well and you make a ton of money off it so you can treat that beautiful bride of yours to a second wedding outside of a garage.
You know, it was a pretty nice wedding. It was a pretty nice wedding.
Kidding.
A 2-car garage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about these figures.
Yep.
So you have 5 core figures, and
Correct.
each one is for the Kickstarter price $65. Tell us a little bit more.
So each figure lands at our discounted. We're at 65. Suggested retail 70. But we wanted to make everyone known. And actually, watching these other Kickstarters, it seems like a lot of retailers want to carry this stuff too, and they like kind of that hype of having figures come out in the future. And so we wanted to make sure that this will be the least expensive you'll ever be able to buy these things, just for our sake. And so they're at 65 each. And then if you do kind of that all in, it's discounted another $25. So then they're at 60 a piece. And I've had people tell me that's too low. I've had people tell me that's too high. And this is an awesome project that, you know, when people want to give you advice, it's interesting because, you know, I don't mind advice at all. I know how to let things kind of roll off my shoulders and what things to let settle in. But as far as numbers go from a production standpoint and from a tooling standpoint, as big as they are, that's where we kind of had to be, as far as the price point goes. So,
so
now
these are massive. I mean, they are a big hunky chunk of plastic. So
yeah,
I can't wait to get my hands on them.
And we're going to be dropping more. We're going to be dropping more and more pictures of them with other lines as well.
I have a feeling the people who have seen them in person are probably going to lean towards, wow, that's a great price. And the people who haven't yet seen them, like really getting that perspective, probably are the ones a little less.
Correct.
excited.
And that's on us and our team and myself to kind of help educate that sort of thing, where we kind of do these comparisons and show them next to a Legions or show them next to an Origins or a Classics. And all of those things, because again, I mean, the width, I had my wife measure without the shoulder pads on, they are over just under 4.5 inches wide.
Wow.
That's big.
Chunky.
Yeah.
And they range from 8.5 to 9 to 11 inches tall.
Correct. Yep. They which is cool because they each have their own middle neck, actually a neck part. So there's going to be 2 ball joints, so we can get a lot of range of motion with the head. So there's actually a neck piece in there, and so depending on how you'll have that, you can make them hunch over to that 8-inch, or you can have them standing up a little bit taller at that 9-inch. And then obviously you have Milwick, who's at the 11-inch range, which we're going to have to tweak some packaging with that guy as far as figuring out how we want him displayed. Because we definitely want to do a plastic, a clam display where you can see them. So he's going to be a little bit tougher to manage.
Yeah, because I was seeing in a lot of the promo stuff, everything was saying it was like brute scale, but like I went and pulled out my measuring stick and it has where it's more to ogre scale.
Right. And again, I didn't know if Four Horsemen Studio has ogre scale trademarks, so I've been calling it. I've been calling it brute scale just because I feel like that's a good term for these guys.
Right,
one's
because
coming.
none of them is an ogre, right? Like, so that it would make more sense to,
Yeah,
call
yeah.
it brute.
And again, as
Wow.
much as the Four Horsemen have been involved and hiring them to handle this side of things, it's definitely kind of through ideas from Mars, and so we definitely have this kind of relationship where I love them to death, and I'm happy to have hired them. But I don't want to mislead anyone and be like,
Yeah.
these are mythic legions.
Mhm.
Go
Right.
buy these because these are mythic legions because that's not fair to them. And that's not good business, I guess. So
And so not only did Four Horsemen do the sort of figure design and sculpt work, but Chris Gorwich is going to
yeah,
be running the production for that as
correct.
well.
Yep,
And
Chris.
he's done a ton of stuff. He's, obviously works for Four Horsemen, has done his Kickstarter, Biblical Adventures. He's done a lot of the fresh monkey fiction stuff. So he's like, when it
Yeah.
comes to experienced production designers, and I know that's something a lot of people, they want to have that, I guess, security blanket when they back a Kickstarter. Like, of
Oh,
all the people you could have, he's one of
Yeah.
the best.
Right. Yeah.
But-
Speaking of good business, you've like surrounded yourself with the best in the biz, right?
Yeah.
you know, part of me feels like it has just to do with money because you just kind of pay for people to work for you. But also, these guys don't owe me anything as far as that goes. So they don't have any sort of allegiance to like want to work for me either. So that helps me kind of have that comfort for like this is something because I'm sure working for the big companies, big companies and production, and it's part of the day job. But I'm sure that these guys have been, asked to be hired by other kind of similar situations of mine. So it just gives me comfort that they believe in this line that much that they were like, yeah, we'll take this gig. Because I'm sure those guys, like, anybody else in their position, people are asking them, hey, would you want to do this? Can I hire you for that? That type of thing. So that just kind of brings joy to me that they're like, yeah, we want these things to happen. I mean, when they were boxed up, one of their staff, like, I open the box when I get it home, these Paint Masters, and it's got a piece of cardboard, and it says, I can't wait to have these on my shelf. And that just brought me so much joy because, yeah, their studio believes in this line, and so that makes me that much more hungry to make it a reality.
It's awesome.
Here's a
What's
question.
the question? Okay.
Is
Ooh, good
Milwick
one.
named after Emil Wickman?
Is Milwick named after Emil Wickman?
Cover the
Actually, it's
E.
actually right there in his name. Now that I see that, that's odd. Correct. He most definitely is named after our brother across the sea. I love that man to death, and yes, he is named in honor of Emil.
Well, that's awesome.
Nice.
So yeah,
I didn't even
and
put
actually,
two together after
all of them have little nods in their names too. If you actually scroll up to, and this was added by myself, but if you actually read a little bit about the general of the initials that his mother used to call him because his second name in there, it's pretty fun stuff. So
And we saw that Tomas
Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be
Rydor.
Rydor, yeah.
Yep, Rydor. And his bio is great. And I mean, Tomas is a wonderful friend as well, and he definitely embodies the everyman, and not just that, but that kind of not, I wouldn't say scary allegiance, but just that loyalty in a soldier and a friend that everybody would want to have next to them. And so that's kind of where we came up with Rydor. And honestly, we feel like, just from a number standpoint, this guy most likely will probably, I would assume, if anybody's army building, he might end up being one of them that's army built the most. And so, I love all you guys to death, but out of the handful of friends that I got in our toy community, I think Tomas is one that throw them in that multiplicity machine and give me a couple of those guys.
Heck yeah.
that's
I
awesome.
hear Lord Bishotti just rolling over in like Michigan right now.
Yeah, Steve.
He was on the Mythic Conversations about an hour ago, lamenting
Steve
the
was?
fact that he was on tonight, like 7:30 to 9 they were on, and he was lamenting the fact that he doesn't get a figure named after him.
You know that guy. So I have a thread with a couple friends that kind of have been helping out on the back end of this, and he happens to be in there. And all of a sudden, I woke up one day, and this thread is titled "Steve's New Toy Line," and this was months ago. So right there, I already knew the guy blew his shot.
Overstepped. So I wanted to, while it's on my mind and while the question is being asked, do you want to talk about the armor and how it's removable and you could swap the armor among the figures and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So a couple things. Again, when you hire the best, you get the best. For Horseman Studios, it was actually their idea to have the helmets removable. That wasn't in the initial design. We actually have the original figures that everything's kind of just on there. And that was something that was a decision made by them that said, hey, we got to make these things removable. We'll figure it out from a design standpoint. And it just turned out fantastic. So the helmets became removable at that point. And then actually those shoulder pieces in the early renditions, the shoulder armor was actually sculpted on that shoulder. And then once it didn't sit right with me, and we were thinking about, okay, future waves, are we using this buck for other figures? I don't know if I want to commit a full shoulder to that design as far as the armor went. So then Corn Boy stepped in and he said, well, let me try our new kind of peg design, not new, but our peg design with the shoulder piece to go in the back there. So that's kind of where we evolved into that part. So that pops off. And if you notice, like our Stegosaur character, the Royal Guard, he'll come with them. They don't fit on his armor the way he has his armor, but we've set him up without his armor and his tall plates on, where he's just like shirtless and has those shoulder pads on, and he looks freaking incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And so then again, yeah, that chest armor is the other piece too, that once the head pops off, that comes right off. And I can't wait to see just different configurations, because you got the tails that pop off and the heads that pop off, and then the armors that just the color schemes that you can come up with, and the goofy different versions of each other you can do. It's going to be pretty fun.
That's awesome. Speaking of Lord Bishotti, I'm sure he'll take that chest armor all right off, because we know he loves a bare-chested dinosaur.
Yeah, he'll never use that chest armor.
Oh god.
Are there any limitations to what kinds of characters are in this world? I'm guessing no.
I've never really thought that far ahead, but as far as characters go, so I'll give you an example. There's a character that we created. I created the action figure of him first. I thought, what if the villain feat of a vintage Motu figure was a hero? Because you think of like Triclops, they're like, oh, it's a heroic body, but he's a villain. So I built this guy that kind of had these clawed dinosaur-ish reptilian feet, and I named him Troodon. And so his city is right next to the city of the snakes, and I won't go too far into it, but he's essentially, in the mini comics, it's shown he's the last of his kind, that the snakes took over his village, killed everyone. He was given this fire, and he grows up to the north, and he's the last of his kind. So when it comes to the limitations, I guess imagination can take you anywhere. So I'll say no, but we definitely want to get to guys like him before we start creating more new stuff, I guess.
Yep. And so you have there's humans in this world, and
Yep,
future
correct.
wave could end up being 6-inch humans, right?
Yep, exactly. They will be a kind of a 6-inch, 6.5-inch buck for the human, and yeah, hopefully again. I mean, the initial plan was this wave of snakes, wave of our human characters, but it's looking like we're going to have to back that up 1 or 2 waves ish again, rightfully so. The market can kind of do what the market wants to do. But we can't wait to get to our humans that can stand next to General Siros and get a gray figure or a Lady Merryweather, and see how they look next to these guys.
Do you have any idea what the elbow range is going to be? Alec would like to know.
Yeah, just articulation in general. Go over that.
Yeah. So there's one. So I'll tell you one thing. So the range. He sent me, and I should probably put this on the Kickstarter, but he definitely sent me a 3D rendering file of kind of the range of motion that they can do as far as their arms go and stuff like that. And we're kind of stuck in this static pose here. I do have the 3D printed version of Siros that I can probably actually grab and see if he's got a little bit more range. Yeah, I have that. Let me see. I have that guy. Let me see if I can get him.
I mean, it's a big chunky figure, so I would imagine, it might not hit 90 degrees in the elbow. But some highlights to me here is this cut in the, let me actually pull this here so you can see my mouse. So, the upper torso cut.
Yep.
Is this a ball, the waist, is that a ball peg?
Correct.
Below the waist? Nice.
Yep.
Hinge and swivel at the top of the leg. There's no, there is a thigh cut right there at the top, right? Between that hinge at the top of the leg. I'm assuming there's, let me pull you up. Hold on one second.
Nope, you're fine.
Let me remove that, and I'll put you full.
So that's right now.
So just shot almost 90 right there.
Yep, almost 90. And then I will talk about this piece too. So right now, currently, and again, Cornboy, amazing designer as well. So then let's see here. This is the full. That's the full. And so right now with this piece, this is one piece.
Yep.
And it was made that way because of basically space. And so there was a figure that Cornboy got in the mail, one that he collects, and he actually showed me that a new design that they're doing with a lot of these figures are this part, the bicep part, is a sleeve.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yep, and this actually connects through to the elbow part of the forearm. And so he didn't have to do this, but he went back to the drawing board and he said, hey, you're going to have these files, and we're going to do a file, and we're going to show you the option of with it as a sleeve so that you add that cut right here as far as that rotation goes.
Yep.
And so once we get to that point with the factory, we can figure out what works out best, what's the most stable, what's the better use of the design essentially, and see what works out best for the figure. Because again, we're dealing with a large figure, so we don't know. But that's essentially something that we correct. Mezco Conan arms.
They're like that. Yep.
Yep, that is something that he added.
Work out better on that big figure there. So because I know Mezco Conan had some issues with it kind of getting stuck some there. With that larger, chunkier arm there, it shouldn't have that issue.
No.
Correct. So yeah, hopefully then we're going to add that one more piece. So that's going to be able to do some pretty cool posing, especially with Kuzo and his double shield that he can hold one on each arm. Yeah, so that's the plan.
Let me put that image up for people to see. So let's see here. I'm gonna put up the Kuzo image for one second, yeah. so people can see what you were just talking about.
Billman Kuzo.
Right. So this is Bill Mancuso, right? And then you have
wait a minute,
Emil Wickman.
Who's Bill Mancuso?
Well, that's Bill Mancuso.
I don't know what you guys are coming up with, but
come on.
Yeah.
So was Saros named after someone, or?
If you read his bio, he actually has a second name as well.
Oh, okay.
And I believe it's Siros Brodicus. And his mother used to call him just by his initials. So
CB.
Oh my God.
Fun little Easter eggs. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun. And again, just being
Joe Vassapolo.
who Joe who?
Oh yeah.
Joe Vassapolo low.
So yeah, they're definitely little kind of fun things that we wanted to throw in there for the studio and kind of as a thank you and again inspiration breeds more inspiration, and there's kind of been that's something that I fully think that if you do not go to a Legions Con specifically, you won't see that. You won't, or not that you won't see it, but you won't see it in action, that this creative kind of cultivating energy that just made me want to go to the drawing board. And yes, I will give Steve Busciotti complete 100% credit on these names, in the sense of I originally only wanted Ciros to be the kind of character, and I wanted the rest to be army builders.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve kind of just kept laying into me. He just said, people want characters. They want actual characters, and they'll army build if they want to, but they want characters.
Yeah.
And so I was against it when he said that. But then Tomas and Emil said that I should do it. So then I listened to them.
Yeah. That's funny.
Swedes speak truth.
Yeah.
They have
They
a
are
more
able to
convincing
confirm
tone.
the truth of the Americans, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes when you hear an American tell you something, you're like, well, what do the foreigners think about this? But I'm not sure if I could trust it.
Let's see. I'm going to check a couple of the comments real quick before we continue. I just canceled my order of one Kuzo figure, and I got one all in. That's Michael Casper.
Oh, geez, Michael. Hey,
there
you know what?
All right.
Quick shout out to Michael. I'm actually going on his show on the 2nd, and that guy he's an incredible guy. I mean, all you guys are fun. Michael is just a sweetheart. I've met him at 2 shows so far, PowerCon, and actually met him at Legions Con and Mesquite Con. And when he texted me today and he said, hey, I told myself I wasn't going to get on Kickstarter again, and here I am. I ordered a Ciro or a Kuzo, and it just made me light up, because if I can just convince one person that it's worth getting, and again, you're not just getting the figure, and this is what's so cool about getting to 60 this fast. All of you involved and that have been involved in backing this know that you are literally part of the heartbeat of the line, period. Like that's cool. That's that you see these toy line. I mean, yeah, who's part of GI Joe? It's like, it's this big corporation and a handful of these artists. It's like, no, like you guys all are part of why this is actually going to happen. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's
I want to
super
address
cool.
Justin's comment. He wants to see posed figures, and I think the issue there is, first of all, these are prototypes that they're kind of static. It's like you have that one that you printed out, and maybe you can do some shots of that, but keep in mind, like, you're already showing there's already improvements being made, right? So like you're going to have that potentially, if it works out, you're going to have that upper shoulder sleeve situation. So remember, these are prototypes, and what they're showing is going to be revised and changed, somewhat.
Oh yeah. And I mean, as far as posability goes, we are going to do our best to make this as posable as possible. Whether it be the loincloth to be in as soft of a plastic as it can, so they can kind of get a wider stance, and a more of a squatting stance. The issue with those the hip joints though too is that we've got to also account for that tail on the backside. So as far as space goes, there's kind of this balance of space down there with when you're dealing with another point of articulation in the back. So once I've got this one here, Justin, I will be more than happy to over the next tonight and tomorrow and figure out how I can pose him with some blue tacky just to show you the range. But even this General Ciros picture alone, when Steve sent this to me, I've been looking at these straight up and down static poses for the past handful of months. And even this limited little bit that he added to Siros just brings so much more personality to the character.
Yeah.
Steve is a master poser.
Amen.
And it's going to be difficult to just like, okay, let's do 20 different poses on a figure that's a prototype like this.
Yeah, I would never. I would. Those guys that have to do this, like I understand completely now. When you go to a show and people are like setting up figures beforehand, and they're just gluing stuff together because they're sick of picking up the sticky tack. Like I understand what you guys are doing now.
Yeah.
So speaking of that tail, we know in Mythos, the tail hole is known as the boom boom.
Is it? Okay.
And so I just wondered in Eden, what's the reference there? Do you have a specific? Have you thought that far?
As far as Eden, so as far as in Eden or in the world of toys built by Ideas from Mars.
Can I make a recommendation?
However you wanna, yeah.
I think it should be called the Ash Hole.
Mic drop.
Well, for these guys for sure, because I mean that's part of their heritage, you know. I don't know if we have any other characters with tails from other parts of the world, but I don't know if they go by Ashhole, but for sure these guys.
That works.
Yeah, in Ashmore, that's what it's called.
Yep.
All
right, next caller.
So we mentioned the individual prices. Did we talk about the all-in and stuff? So, you mentioned the all-in is 300 and you're saving 25 off of the 65 each. So if you go all in, it's 60 each. Yeah.
Yep. And then I will say this too. This is something that again, trying to learn from others and have them help along the way. Between Chris with his biblical adventures and Jason with Spiro Toys, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, we definitely wanted to do with this one. We're doing a backer kit. So essentially what we did was you are not charged shipping when you pledge here. Realizing, looking at the numbers, that if I'm going to, again, these are just numbers, nothing actual official, but if I'm going to ship a figure for $10 and it's $10 and I know it's $10 and I put 12 on there or 11 because I know Kickstarter's taking a chunk, well, why are we paying Kickstarter a bunch of this money if it literally has nothing to do with the production of the figure itself? And that way we can save money, and that way we can also do shipping much more accurately, because the guy that's in California shouldn't be paying the same as the guy that's 2 hours away from where I live. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know it's tough to, as a buyer, it can be tough to commit when you're not sure of the shipping, but ultimately this will be the cheapest.
And we've tried to be, we've tried to be as transparent as possible. There is definitely a high option that this possibly will be hitting retailers. And we've been in discussions with retailers. So if there's a possibility to buy it from one of those retailers that sells thousands of figures a day and is able to do shipping at a better rate, if you are international, that might be the better way to go. I will not fault you for waiting on that. The two things I will say you will not get, though, would be the price. Well, three things technically. The price of the figure.
Which will be,
well, if you're doing an all in, it'd be 60 or 65. 65 for the individual. I don't know if they're going to charge the 70 or what price point they might put on their figure when they sell it. And then you have the Nate Barch artwork that we're working on that's going to be exclusive to Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And then we also have that stretch goal Kickstarter exclusive figure, which is the mysterious albino infantry warrior.
Yeah. So let's get into some of that. So these add-ons, are these all available now? These are all available now, right? Or...
The only one that is not available now, and this is completely an artistic design flaw that we did when we launched, was that weapons pack technically is going to be opened at 115.
Okay.
So 115,000. But somebody taught us today and last night that they actually add $20 onto their pledge for that and that will get us quicker to the goal of
Right.
unlocking it. And then
Yeah.
once it's unlocked, we turn that icon into an add-on item in the store essentially, and you're able to click that button and get that weapons pack. These weapons are huge. I wasn't completely transparent. I was thinking either 25 or 30. They are big weapons, and you're getting a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
But we wanted it to be a no-brainer for anyone to do an all-in, because we know a lot of you guys have large-scale action figures from other lines, and these are cool and well-designed thanks to CJ, well-designed weapons. The Kuzo's shield, I sent Cornboy a picture of, and I kind of drew this jagged line through the middle of it, and I said, hey, I'm not trying, and again, when you hire somebody, I'm like, I'm not trying to be weird, but like, do you think this is possible? And within a day or two, he's just like, no problem. And he like sent me the concept back that he's like, yeah, as long as the pegs are this shape and we can get it to stick together and blah, 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 blah. And it'll have 2 handles on the back. And, this type of stuff. And even the face shield that CJ designed, that it's going to go over. So you're going to have the face shield down, up, off with just the helmet on, or completely off and helmetless. These little added details that the Four Horsemen Studios brought forward just kind of nailed the creative, took the creative side and like just kind of pushed it to the next level. So
Very
Yeah,
cool.
and that's a great option for people who do want to army build and have like, one guy up front with the mask off, and then the 2 behind him with the
2 flanking him that they might be lower ranked army guy,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, so you got all these different add-ons.
Yep.
And that's, like you kind of bring up an interesting Kickstarter buyer side philosophy. Like if you want to see it fund, like imagine that the what do you call them? The stretch goals are going to unlock, and try to back it so that you're unlocking the stretch goals, and that'll get it to the stretch goals faster. Right.
Well, that
And
was the question today that happened was, hey, again, if you do the all-in pricing, we have the availability of, if you add a figure, you've got yours for 60 each. So you're adding your 6th figure or your 7th figure, it's at that 60 point. So you don't have to buy that next one for 65. You're ready. You've locked in that 60 price point. Okay. So for instance, if we unlock the albino warrior and you're already all in,
Yep.
you only have to pay 60 to get the albino warrior. He doesn't jump. He's not going to be $5 extra to you. Okay.
That's awesome.
So you already reached that. So now if you're just doing one, like if you're just doing a Kuzo and we end up unlocking and so you're at 65, you end up unlocking him, he will still be at 65 for you. But anybody that buys at minimum that wave of all in, any figure on top of what you get is going to be at that discounted price.
That's cool. I did not know that was even possible. That's pretty sweet.
That's fantastic, because that was going to be one of my questions, where it was like, if it gets unlocked, could it become a larger all-in? That totally covers that right there. Because I know with my order, I went ahead and did like the all-in, and then I did another 20 for the weapons. It's going to get there, and then I did 2 more 65 for like each of the stretch goal figures.
Yeah.
Like,
so right now, essentially, you've got $10 credit. When we get there.
Sweet. Maybe I'll pick up some comics or a pin.
Yeah. And there might be more stuff, because to be completely honest with you, this has blown us away over, again, just 24 hours into it. So now I'm at the drawing board looking at more things and more options to add, because I had a guy today, he said, hey, these stretch goals, all they are is unlocking more stuff, more money I have to put in. What can you add that as a stretch goal that doesn't cost anything more? And so I want to do my best to make it as valuable as possible. So like those extra 2 sets of hands, we added those. Those are now officially going to be part of it. Every figure will come with 3 sets of hands. It's like we get that. And as much as there might be 1 or 2 random guys online that says, I don't want extra hands, just let me know in your order, and then I'll take those out and keep them.
Just send them to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've been having a lot of communication throughout these last 24 hours with backers, and a lot of questions and back and forth, huh?
Yeah. And again, I want to learn as much as somebody wants to learn about the line. I want to learn about what I'm delivering, because I will never be that guy that says I know it all, and I will never be the guy that acts like I know it all, because that just gets fishy in general. I mean, I'm in sales. I've been in sales for 15 years, and it just gets fishy. Any personality like that gets a little fishy to me on a personal level. So I want to learn as you guys are learning. So when somebody says to me, "Hey, why isn't there anything being unlocked that like we just get?" And so one thing that I did, and a lot of the guys that were email, you guys might not even know, or some of you might not know, a secret that we did was our first 100 backers, they're getting an extra Armies of Ashmore pin, and it's going to be basically gold plated. It's going to be a gold colored pin, so it's going to be a lot like the one up there in the add-ons. But that's just an extra. Hey, you were the first 100. I appreciate you. You don't have to pay for this. This is something that we're just adding to your package because we wanted to do something like that. So now I'm looking at stretch goals. I'm like, well, everyone's asking for heads or armors or articulated jaws and stuff like that. But those are all things that will end up basically costing more money. So that will be more money to be raised. And I'm not saying we can't accomplish those things. I'm just saying, as far as more tooling, the only tooling we're really interested in as of right now within this first day and a half is that extra sixth character at the bottom.
Cool.
Looks like Alec.
Yeah. I'm excited
Eel.
for that.
He wants to
extra
know if
bit.
Eel will make it into this way. That's a future wave figure,
That
right?
that is a future wave figure. That's a lot of new tooling. But again, with this shoulder, we've been able. So we definitely have a couple pieces within this, but he will be a brute scale figure. He's over there on my shelf. But so we are trying to do our best to make use of this buck as much as possible. So he is definitely in the future. But he is definitely a guy that I don't want to shortchange him and give him the same feat as these guys when he doesn't have. If I can do new tooling, I'm going to do new tooling as much as possible.
Yeah.
So going back to the stretch goals here, you mentioned the gold pin for the first 100.
Yep.
What if, say, somebody happened to be like the, I don't know, 252nd backer? What would that guy get? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, I hope I can shake his hand someday.
We could probably work that out. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, if we get to a place where I'm able to eat cost on a gift to all the backers, I'd love to figure that out. And that's where I need to talk to somebody like Chris or Jason that have done these things and have been super successful, because I asked Jason today, I was like, I feel like shirts would be just crazy logistical nightmare, but what do you think? And he's like, yep, nope, don't do them. Like, it's just not something he's never seen a Kickstarter end up doing well because they added shirts as an option.
And people want toys. People
right.
want to mostly get stuff to add to the figures.
Yeah.
Right. So even I'm looking at them now, shoot, guys, that makes complete sense. What if I had their helmets in a different color scheme or something that we already had built? That would make it a little bit more different and dynamic, but it wasn't.
Or like an armor piece from one guy in another color and put it in the colors of another guy. Like that. That's the kind of thing you could potentially do.
100%. And
Really
so that's
army
something that we definitely need to look into. So
yeah. All right. So let's just run down the stretch goal. So 115 is that weapons pack that we showed
you get
above.
basically everything in that pack right there.
Yeah. And then
all color scheme and everything, right?
You know what? And color scheme, we haven't landed on anything. We've thought about two things, and I guess I'll ask you guys what you think on them, and maybe we can offer them both. We can do where each one is basically everyone moves one to the left, so everyone's color scheme matches a different character, which could kind of be cool just for weapon's sake, and then they look well with them. Or we've even considered the kind of the homage to Motu with their weapons pack, where it was in a specific kind of a rust color weapons pack, maybe with a shine to it. So those are options. I don't know if any of those two options jump out at you guys.
I'd be down for like them swapping there because like was it CB swapping with what was it? I'm trying to remember all the names, but swapping with the other Triceratops character to color.
Yeah, Rhydor. Yeah.
With Kuzo, and then maybe have like what staff is that?
Nope.
That staff swap over too.
Yep. Yeah. And again, I think that idea right there that we're kind of kicking around, along with that we're kind of kicking around, that idea along with the helmets being slightly different color schemed, are two things that are easily doable, and they're manageable, and they're not costing very much more money. So maybe those are things that we can add options to, where once that weapons pack unlocks, what if there's an ability to choose either the other alternate color scheme or the Motu version? You know what I mean? That type of thing.
You could even have it be, a small little event where if it's blowing up, you could have people vote on what color. Like you could say, okay, let's take this weapon here, or this, the shoulder armor from one guy, and say, which color would you want it to be in, and like do a vote or something.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay. So then the $200,000 stretch goal
is
the all new Wave Walker.
Yep.
I want him so bad. I want him so bad.
Yeah. So this is one I should send you guys my design for him, because it's obviously, compared to this, it's absolutely horrible. But we were definitely kicking around, thanks to Four Horsemen Studios and Jason, just talking about how, hey, having a good character or another character that kind of you could be perceived as evil or a bad guy, definitely doesn't hurt. And so I started looking at certain Google searches on animals and prehistoric beasts, and so I drew one, and I sent it over to CJ, and CJ literally took it to the bottom of the ocean and left it there, and then he came up for air, and this is what he came up with. It's freaking awesome. So again, going with removable helmet, all we have is new armor, head, and tail, but given the color scheme and the contrast in it, it looks like a whole new figure. So
yeah,
it looks like there's the air tank, or like some sort of like wave, like producing thing on the back. I like that too. I just extra.
He's got a pretty cool turtle motif on the front chest of the armor too, as well. But yeah, this guy's absolutely phenomenal. If you scroll down a little bit, you can actually see his name. I'm not sure if there it is. Nope.
Oh yeah, I tried to pronounce this last night.
Venusia. Yep.
I didn't say that.
Trying to think who this would be a nod to.
Yeah, you can figure it out later down the road, but
okay.
but yeah,
I like the take on the trident too is really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, again, hats off to CJ, because from a design standpoint, the guy is a monster. He knows visuals very well, and how to make stuff look cool. So this is the one we need to be at 200, because it's new tooling, and these it's just it's expensive for tooling, and so that's where we would have to be on that one. Having the tail, I think the only thing that he kept as far as my design went was, I was just like, well, it should look similarly designed to their armors, but maybe some seaweed is stuck in it, and then obviously it might have a little bit more of a rust color to all of his armor, because if it's metal and it's in the water too long, so he's definitely part of kind of the naval branch of our armies.
And I wanted to share the folder you sent me.
Sure.
So I'm going to bring up this. So these are just turnarounds, essentially, of the figures.
Yeah, you start getting out closer to just some of the little details that he put in there. Obviously, with the same thing here. This belt, those glue in, so they all kind of have the same loincloth per se, but that kind of that belt front part, each one is a different one. So it's each one's a different faction essentially within the armies.
That's cool. That's very Legions-esque. They do that a lot there. It's like an emblem or something. Here's a zoom in on the leg armor there.
Great textures.
Yeah. I want to get on a brighter figure to show up the. Let's see here.
And you know, my wife's photography skills are lacking. I know there's a couple of photographies you guys might know that once we get the prototypes in, I might have to touch base with them.
Yeah. So this is a good one to get a look at the textures and stuff throughout.
Yeah.
The sculpt.
Yeah. So random complaints. Somebody was complaining. I don't know if it was on Facebook or on Instagram, but basically saying, you know, I would be in if the Ankylosaurus and the Stegosaur, if their armor was actually part of their body, because it not being part of it doesn't make sense to him. And I'm just like, okay, bro, but like overall, like it's just the concept of if you show him with his shield on his back, it just looks super cool. And so actually, you know what? I'm going to reveal something to you. I'm going to reveal something to you guys in a second here once we get to this. So I did a couple pictures of it with it apart since it's got two holders, and then I did one of it together on his back, and it just looks cool.
Yeah.
Him rocking the shield on the back. But so this is the email that I'm actually going to send tonight. Is I wonder, and it's over there. I wish I could go get just the tail. I want to see the size of the end of his tail and the size of his mace. And I actually want to ask if we can possibly have it where it can he could actually swap out the tip for each of them. Yep. Because that could just be kind of a cool, and that'd just be a straight up play feature. But that could be kind of interesting having that tail swap out. I think if you click it, it'll show the whole thing.
That would be cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be.
But yeah, wondering what that point right there. Wondering if that's the same size or similar size where you could actually pop it out, and that could be his mace instead of his current mace.
Could be the mace head.
Right. Exactly. So stuff like that. Again, as we go into tooling, we want to figure this stuff out. So
if you send that email out, for the subject line, maybe I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe just the tip.
Just the tip. Yeah, if you click that, I think she just does a little bit of a zoom in on. I was just kind of telling her to get some of the detail. I'm probably going to start yelling at her right now in the background.
Colors are so great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they turned out phenomenal. And again, it was easy for us to tell them because they said to me, well, how do you want us to paint it? And I said, like Legions, like you paint, like just a really nice paint job. Obviously, they're a little bit brighter than Legions because that falls more in line with the Defenders of Eden brand itself. But they definitely, as far as accentuating the textures and the contrasts, they know how to do it so well.
Mm-hmm. They're bright, but they're not cartoony, if that makes sense. Which is a funny way to say it, because if you stop and say that, you're like, it sounds like you're saying something that completely contradicts itself. Yeah.
But it really doesn't. If you know what you're doing.
They have the texture. It's the texture, really,
yeah,
right?
Like a real world,
Right.
Yet they're born from a comic.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see.
So Matt, you said about 10 years ago you were starting to conceptualize and create this world.
Yeah.
Where within that 10 years did you say we're going to make some toys?
What now?
Where within that 10-year time frame did you all of a sudden say we're going to make some toys?
Well, I always wanted to make the toys. I mean, if I could have jumped to toys first, it would have been toys first. I definitely, and I've said this on other shows, my childhood dream, well, my adulthood dream is to walk in an aisle of a store and have a kid look at something that I made and just be, wow, that's cool. I want that. So that's always been a dream. I'll just show you how goofy some of this stuff was. I took all the pages out of this one. But like, yeah, I mean, I have a couple other comic book properties that have been with me since high school, and all of them I visualize as toys because I'm a toy guy at heart. I mean, I grew up, I'm very, very Masters childhood. Got into Turtles, loved Turtles, never had enough money for all of them. I had a cousin that we went over to his house, and every freaking time, I remember showing up to this house, and he had the turtle blimp, and I just wanted to, I was so mad because his mom just bought him everything. So he had everything. Yeah. And then I definitely, into the 90s, X-Men and Toy Biz was like everything to me. So toys were a must.
Was his name Pablo by any chance?
Pablo?
Yeah, was his name Pablo by any chance?
His cousin?
Not Pablo.
Okay. Trying to track that guy down.
Different cousin?
Possibly.
Let's come back here. This might be my favorite one. I love.
Did you take a picture of him with his armor off?
Let's see. Did she?
Oh, right.
No, doesn't look it.
Unless it was one near the. Okay, because I was gonna have her because he actually looks pretty freaking sweet with just those the shoulder armor and not his and because of his design and because of that armor design was originally why we had the shoulders have the texture and the armor on it. Mm-hmm. Because if you look in the comic book, it's actually designed that way where he also has the shoulders under that. But physically we couldn't do it for the toy, so we thought that was a good compromise. That we're just going to pack in those extra shoulder pads with him, and then let people display him how they want.
Now that we're looking at these a little bit more and seeing some of their weapons, just another thought on that weapons pack is you keep the same colors for that character and the weapons, but they're reversed. You know what I mean? So
right.
They stay with the figure, but they're different. You know what I mean?
Right. Or if we go with exactly. You know, or with the Bronto there, if we go with a different type of wood or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so the blue is the interior and that gray is the lining around it or something.
Yep. That's interesting. Yeah.
All right. So I think that does it for those images. Let's see. Let me pull this down. Anything else you want the viewers to know? Any other info you should be sharing here?
Just that we are trying our best, and we are here to satisfy the consumer. No, we're here definitely. We're here to learn, and we're here to figure this out as we go. And so, if there are any questions or any even ideas to help build this thing, because we do not want to lose any steam, we definitely want to keep gaining traction, so that once we reach that goal, we can go into production now. I don't want to wait till the end of this 40 days to go into. I'd love for it to happen in 3 days, and we can talk to Chris and talk to the factory and just start going now. It's just we need a certain amount of money up front to do that, and definitely we definitely want to happen sooner than later. So 1/6 shooter. Hey, wait a minute. Aren't you 1/6 shooter? Wait a minute.
So as far as like getting updates on things, you can keep checking back on the Kickstarter page, but you've also got an Instagram page, you've got a Facebook group.
Yeah. The Facebook group actually is the one that it seems like it became the most lively. There's a Defenders of Eden toy page group, and it's just kind of those algorithms with Facebook. I know that you guys deal with that type of stuff too, that, the official Defenders of Eden page just gets lost in everything, even if you post on it and it never shows up at the top. But then the fan group page ends up being on everyone, like everyone's involved, and it's on the top, and it's because it's not a business page, or it's not you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that one actually gets the most, and then we're obviously Instagram too as well. I tried the Twitter thing yesterday, and I did a Twitter once. I think it was at Legion's Con, literally just because my brother texted me and he said, "You've got this thing kind of blowing up on Twitter." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." And he showed me pictures on Twitter that were at my table at Legion's Con. And I was like, "Oh, I should probably," he said, "You should probably start a Twitter." I'm like, "Well, I don't know what to do with it." So I'm going to leave that to the cool kids.
So I put the links. So I have links for the Kickstarter, of course, and then the Instagram page and the Facebook, the Defenders of Eden Facebook page. I don't have a link yet. I'll add it, but if you go to the Facebook page, I'm sure you'll find a link to the group itself.
Yeah. Yep. We'll share all that stuff, and I appreciate you guys having me on too, because again, this community is full of people that just, when they see it, not only a friend's dream, but a friend's dream that they can really get behind and really want to encourage. It's incredible. It's incredible what the toy community is capable of, because as I've said before, thinking of all the toy lines right now that we have out, and then the indie ones that people are backing, we couldn't. I mean, I'm sure we're all kind of in that 40s-ish to 50s-ish range. I'm in the 55-ish range. We all we're like in this, I forget what somebody called it. It wasn't the golden age, but we are freaking in just the best time to be a toy collector and a toy lover right now, for sure.
No doubt, for sure.
So
For real.
Yeah, and I would encourage everybody who's in the chat, who have backed this, who want to back it, who have an interest in it, and you want it to succeed, spread the word.
Yep.
Put it on your own socials. Keep doing it.
Definitely
and
make this happen.
all in. And
hey, I appreciate it. And the thing with that is too, is that it's super interesting to see how far it reaches, where you might not realize that somebody that sees your Instagram feed or your Facebook feed has a friend that you know what? They don't collect toys, but they might be into this because they love dinosaurs or whatever, So even those shares, as corny as it sounds, those shares mean the world, because that's what keeps this ticking up the way we want to see it go.
For sure.
Alrighty. I think that should probably do it for us tonight. Anything with you other guys? Billy Beige Customs, you got it. So you put up a video today about Defenders, right? What was that video?
I did
Just
that
an
one.
overview?
I have was it a Mythic Legion's Night Builder that Jennifer Sykes was kind enough to send me. If you don't remember her, she had where she couldn't make Legion's Con last year. So I went around getting a good get well soon card signed for her, and she sent me a Night Builder, and she's super sweet for it. And I'm gonna do a review on that soon.
That's awesome.
Other than that, just random stuff.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Nate, you got any cool photo projects going on?
Oh, always working on something. I don't know when it's going to come out, but I just want to say, Matt, congrats. I'm super stoked for you. This is going to happen, and I can't wait for it to happen.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. And like I said, we'll definitely be in touch, photography and stuff like that. So we'll definitely
happy to help out any way I can.
Yeah.
And did you want to plug any? So you might have some more appearances coming up on YouTube and whatnot.
Yeah,
what else you got coming up?
there's a small indie podcast, Mugtiffum. I don't know what it's like. Migtiff something. Sunday morning is going to be going on. It's called My Wife Is Going to Kill Me podcast. I'm going to be on there. I've been tricked into staying the night Saturday night, so I probably will not be in the best shape. Nate's
dehydrated from hours in the hot tub.
I can attest to that.
So we're gonna do that, and then like I said, Michael Casper, I believe on May 2 is the next one. And randomly, our local news channel. I'm going to be on there coming up on Tuesday. So
Sweet.
Oh,
they happen to cover the Comic-Con that I run here in Holland that happened this past Sunday. And they've done stories on our Comic-Con stuff. And so one of our vendors for our Comic-Con works there, and she overheard about this. And so I'm going to go on there Tuesday morning on the news. So we're going to see. Last time I was on the news, it did not end well. There's memes and screenshots of what took place, and I haven't lived it down yet. So I'm
get ready to grab those, Billy.
I'm looking for redemption this time around. So
apparently, you're also supposed to be on the Off-World podcast on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday is what I'm being told.
Really?
Yeah, you're supposed to talk about The Mandalorian, Monster Squad, and Armies of Ashmore.
I'll let you know this. I don't mind going on friends' shows, but when my friends all have 5 shows, I'm not going on all 5 of their shows. Like
I'm looking at the artwork. It looks like you're going on the show.
We need to focus a little bit, guys. Dude, come on. So no, again, you guys, this is incredible, and I'm having an out of body experience. And I will gladly share it with all you guys and the people that are going to back this. And this community is great, man. It's fun, and I can't wait to see to bring these paint masters to hopefully to PowerCon and maybe reveal a PowerCon exclusive or maybe reveal a Legions Con exclusive this year and see what we're going to do from there.
Awesome.
Ooh.
Well, good. Enjoy the success so far, and enjoy your time.
Yeah,
in the
congrats.
tub tonight, Matt.
Congratulations.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, guys. Have a great night, everybody. And until next time, may the force